Worship team, they good. See some families here tonight, some cheerings in the room. Keep it PG. Um, gotta reach my audience. My name's Trey, and I work at Good Landing, and I have seen God do great and mighty things over the past 8.5 years since our inception. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Um, and how about we give it up for our Chief Operating Officer, Landon Lyle. Um, and speaking of some of the great and mighty things that he has done, Landon was 12 years old whenever Good Landing started, and his dad is a phenomenal pastor. As a matter of fact, used to be the senior leader of this church for many years, and Landon was actually like pretty much raised up in this church, and his dad used to come speak at Good Landing. Landon, 12 years old, sitting on the front row, listening to his dad speak whenever this same event had about 15 people in it, and over at 256 McMillan at the men's program, and he sat there. And then at 18 years old, I was at a revival at Free Chapel and spoke with Landon's mom. Landon was doing roofing and had just graduated high school, was trying to figure out his next move, and came on to work with us as a case manager. And then now at 20, almost 21 years old, he is the number two. He is the chief operating officer of Good Landing and is crushing it. So, I say that for many reasons. I could really give a lesson tonight on what it takes to make that type of climb, and I'll probably get into some of those principles. But I say that because I want the room to be full of faith. Just think like, within 2 years, you have a guy without a college degree, and I don't know, maybe he's been drunk. I don't know about it if he has or not, but he definitely doesn't have a substance abuse issue. Not sure if he would know the difference between meth and fent. He may. But either way, was still, even without the training, without all the degrees, was able to prove himself I've had, seasoned CEOs that have ran some of the biggest programs they're not even in the same class as him. And so, I say all that because, number one, I do like gassing him up because he deserves it, and he's super humble, and it just makes him better, I think, whenever he hears it. But I also just say, you're sitting in here and you're getting ready to rebuild your life, and you're wondering what that's supposed to look like. There's a lot of principles that I think that you can take from that lesson, because hopefully if you're sitting in here that you want something better than what you have right now. And I'm going to challenge you for that. I did have a substance abuse issue and went through 10 treatment centers. I was IV drug addict, had 4 DUIs, and did all the things. My primary drug of choice was methamphetamines, but it was really just whatever I could get my hands on, and that just was what was flooding the Mississippi Delta whenever I was in active addiction, and but really, anything and everything. And so I know what it's like to be a reproach. I know what it's like, is some popular language now when they're putting dirt on your name, and what I do love about God and His ways is that He loves to put His name and to take what other people have written off and accelerate your life and promote it in a way that is shocking to you and everybody else around on the way that He can author a redemption story, a comeback story, if you will. One of our taglines is "Your comeback story starts here." All of us love a good comeback story. That's why, every Rocky, I don't even know how many Rockies there are. There's probably 15, and now they're Creed. Creed's already on number 3. But it's just the story, right? It's the story of the underdog. It's every storyline is very similar. Balboa gets his brains beat out, and then we know that he's going to come back and either have a rematch fight or he's going to have a fight at the end, and he's going to he's going to win in the 12th round, and we know that's what's going to happen, and yet we are drawn to it every time. We love the underdog story. We love that storyline, and that's ultimately what God is trying to write in your life right now, if you will allow him to, and some of you need to get back to the old gym, right? I mean, there's always the scene. There's the one, where Rocky has made all the money in stardom, and that kind of puts him to sleep, and then whenever he knows that he's got to get a big fight after he's lost everything, he goes back to the old gym, the old weights, right? He gets back out there with Mickey, and he's out there in the middle of nowhere removes all the distractions and the pleasures of that he's accustomed to in our Western culture, then gets back there to old school training and then comes back, and that ultimately is what taps back in to that very primal beast, if you will, that is inside all of us and wakes us up to go and accomplish what people thought that we could not accomplish. But we can't skip that part, and it's a cool highlight reel in a Rocky movie. But whenever we're grinding it out day in and day out, and Eye of the Tiger isn't playing in the background while we have some, crazy reel, it's actually not that much fun whenever you're just putting in all of that work. But it's necessary, right? And what you have to understand is the season that you are in right now, okay? And that can go for a lot of us, right? I mean, I know what it's like to have great failure from addiction. I was a 10 times loser in rehab. So every time that you show up to rehab, you don't show up here off a series of wins. Okay? You're taking L after L after L after L. That is what brought you to rehab. Okay? If you were out there crushing it, I promise you that you wouldn't be here. I love that some of y'all are very optimistic. Be optimistic, but be humble and realize exactly where you are. Okay? Like, as much as I am glad that you're here, that we're going to celebrate graduates, I'm going to celebrate One Day Clean, I'm going to celebrate, all this stuff, but don't be confused as to why you're here. And I want you to get what you came for. I want you to win. I am here tonight. You have hired me. You have hired this team around the room to be able to serve you, to show you the way out of active addiction. But then some of us are in another, just because you won and you beat addiction doesn't mean that you're going to win in relationships. Doesn't mean that your career trajectory, you may end up losing your amazing job and all of your retirement and investments at 10 years in, and then you're trying to figure out how to crawl up out of financial ruin. You may be in a marriage that starts off great whenever you've got a year clean, that ends up in a train wreck at year 10. And then you're trying to figure out, man, how do I rebuild now? How do I reinvent myself now as I go through this, whatever it might be, right? I mean, there's all these different things. And so what you have to understand is that right now you need to be hyper-focused on beating addiction, because if you don't beat this, then you don't even get to participate in anything else, right? You're not even there. You need to make sure that you take care of addiction. You need to take care of your physical health and your mental health. Because if you don't take care of those, then you can't participate in life. I mean, some of you right now, man, I got to get the job, and I got to get the house, and I got to get out of here to go get the job so I can make all those things are important, and they're noble things. I want you to pay rent. But at the same time, if you blow out of this to try to go and pay rent, you'll be lucky if you make one rent payment, much less that you're even ready for the longevity to make it continually over the course of your life. You're going to get taken out again, and you're going to be back at Good Landing, and this time with more consequences. So you need to consider that and make sure that you're playing the long game. I had a mom one time, her son was the teaching tennis pro at the country club. And in a small town. And I knew that the tennis program there had deteriorated, and he was living at home. And she just did not want for her son to lose this tennis pro job. And it was a great job, and he was out there teaching. The guy's addicted to methamphetamines. You ever say, can you imagine running around the country club in the middle of summer with sleeves on to cover up your sores? as you're running around on meth trying to talk to a bunch of country club people about their forehand and backhand, okay? Like he was fooling anybody. But nonetheless, Mom didn't want him to lose his job. And so I'm talking to Mom, and this is a personal friend of mine, and finally I'm just like, how much money is he making? I mean, I'm thinking surely the guy's making six figures or something, and if he loses this job, I mean, and even then I'd be like, hey, he can make six figures, but you're still gonna bury him prematurely, Karen, okay? So let's make sure that we got all this stuff in perspective, and come to find out, this guy's making about $10,000, $20,000 a year. He's still living home with Mom and can't even afford a car. And I'm like, lady, what are we doing here? Like, what in the world? The best thing that'll ever happen for your tennis pro son is to lose that job. I mean, he'll make more over here as a stinking house manager. Can we please, just look big picture? And some of us have to realize, man, you cannot save your face and your butt, clean version, children, at the same time. So you need to think about that. Some of y'all that are habitually cool. I mean, there's just a level of where we just have to drop the facade and realize where we are, and that will be the doorway into freedom. I mean, some of us are so caught up in these facades and this imagery and this, pretend whatever. And I know that we have it, but this is a place where you need to get vulnerable. We talked about that last week with Naaman, remember? Naaman had to take off all of his military garb to be able to get in the Jordan River and to dip 7 times and to expose himself so that people could see this disease that was rotting his body away. And he had to go and do something that seemed like buffoonery, that seemed foolish, that seemed stupid. But I'm just telling you, there is nothing more stupid than going to rehab than telling your family why you can't. And I just stole that from Jessica in one of our marketing videos that you'll see very soon, okay? Because there is nothing more foolish than an addict trying to call or talk to their family on why they don't need treatment. I mean, I've been in a million of those conversations. And it's wild. And what you've got to realize is when we think about intervention, right? Like so-and-so got an intervention. You think about the show, right? Or you think about, something like me, the first time that my family did an intervention. I'm same height, 120 pounds, looking out the window one morning as I always did. And I'm looking out, and in comes my family, car after car after car. And they sit down in my living room, in my dad's living room, and they all went around with their little spiel. We love you, Trey. I'm cussing them out. We ain't doing this, and they're like, we're going to do a court order in the state of Mississippi. They could put you in jail and then force you to go to treatment. It was a great law. It saved my life. And anyway, so when we think about intervention, we think about that one-time event where the family comes in and then says, oh, you don't want to go to treatment? Well, you stole $25,000 from your dad, and we got it, you selling the watch or selling the whatever at the local pawn shop on video. And so either you're going to go to rehab or you're going to go to jail. We're going to press charge, And so they have that talk, and then that's the intervention that we think about. But I'm telling you, some of y'all, we got to do interventions, multiple times a day to get you to stay. You're sitting in there. I mean, you know how it is when somebody first comes in to rehab and they're detoxing? I mean, they're just 1 minute, they're just, yes, I love it, I want to be here. The next minute, they don't want to be here, and we got to talk them off the ledge. The next minute, they want to be a pastor. The next minute, they want to be a dope dealer. I mean, it's just wild. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life, and just how, the way that the pendulum swings while somebody is in here. And so whatever it takes is what it takes, right? And so what I am doing tonight for a lot of you, some of you I'm empowering and I'm pushing you forward in the momentum that you're already in. And some of y'all I'm serving as an interventionist right now. Some of y'all don't know what you're going to do. Some of you are sitting in this room tonight thinking, man, maybe I should go back out. Maybe I should I'm tired of this place. I want to go back out. And I'm hoping that God is going to do an intervention in your life tonight, and you're going to lock in and do this thing and commit to this thing and commit to it his way. That's what's going on right now. I mean, I'm doing an intervention for certain people in here tonight. I'm empowering some, and maybe I'm irritating some that have already made up their mind, and it's not going to, and that's fine too. You'll learn. You'll learn. And I know how hard it is, man. I know how hard it is. I know sometimes, man, you look over at your neighbor, man, they're so on fire for God, and they're loving it, and they got all the momentum, and you're just like, God, dude, this is like, dude, if I hear one more thing about humility, or I hear one more thing about, whatever, and just everything's getting on your nerves, and you're condescending, and you're frustrated, that's a dangerous place to be. It's a dangerous place to be. And I would figure out, if you find yourself in this cynical, negative, everything sucks, everything's awful, that you, by an act of your will, are going to have to pull the e-brake. Because I'm telling you, if you feed your body and feed your mind what it needs instead of what it wants, it will eventually want what it needs. Okay? So you have to figure out, if you're in a negative mindset, go find that annoyingly optimistic person and sit with them. It's contagious. Just like negativity is contagious, I will blow that out of this program so fast. There's been times whenever I put 18 people on a stinking bus, and there will be a group of them, and they'll go. And I don't know, and I've not heard anything about that right now, but occasionally this program needs a massive tune-up, and it will get infected with cancer. And there'll be a group of people, and they'll get so empowered, and it's not something that we can really, and if we've got to go in and pull the Band-Aid off and take the cancer and put it on a Greyhound and send them back to where they came from, then so be it, if that's what it takes to be able to save everything else, right? And so it is with you on a micro scale tonight as you look at your life and you look at your mindset of where you're in, that if you're not embracing change, then I would get around the optimistic people that are going to produce that in your life by being around them. You tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. That's not just some dumb thing your grandmother said. You tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you what your future is. You tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you how much money you make. You typically make within a few $1,000s of your 3 closest friends. Money, wealth, whatever. When you ride past certain neighborhoods that are impoverished, you don't think there's any talented people in there? You don't think there's any smart people in there? It's a mindset. It's a mindset. Victim mentality. The man. Everybody's out to get me. Why is this always happening to me? That mindset right there will keep somebody in a spot where they can't build, where they're not going to come up. And so it is here with your life in addiction. I'm always going to get high. I can't wait to get high. I can't, and you sit out there and you tell the old war stories and you fuel that level of thinking, then you're going to get that. That's what's going to be produced. You're not going to have a negative mindset. You're not going to sit around people that still love getting high, that still talk about that, and then think that you're going to walk into this amazing life that you're proud of. It just doesn't happen. I am telling you, I am built on faith. I am not perfect, but I hung around the crazies that love God, and they love God for real. And it was bizarre to me. I didn't grow up in a church where people did this. I mean, that weirded me out. I grew up in a church where people's alarms went off at 12 o'clock to let the pastor know he was done, okay? I mean, if I would have saw somebody's arms go up in church, we would have thought they had a demon or something. I would have been like, dude, that guy's on drugs. And then when I got desperate enough, those crazy people that really love God, that could pray and change things, that I wanted to be around them. That's who I wanted to be around. I want to be around those fake people that are believing, that are, the stuff that somebody might make a reel and make fun of them. I want those people. And if you ever find yourself in a hospital bed where your health is in check too, you want somebody that's got the authority of God praying for you. And not some knucklehead that comes in that's all polished and has no faith and doesn't believe God that way. I want somebody that believes for miracles if I'm in need of a miracle. So whenever it all hits the fan, but you want to prepare and to make sure that if you want to walk out of addiction, then you're going to need that in your life. Most of us could testify, man, we've seen the devil. We've seen the enemy. You've been out there in those drug scenes. I mean, you've seen a level of darkness. You pull up on some of those people that are out there slinging dope, and you realize, man, this ain't no ordinary evil. This is a different type of evil that I'm around right now. Some of y'all have been there. Some of y'all have been possessed by that. Some of y'all have been in that headspace. And so if you can testify to that, then you know you're going to need the real thing to get you out of this. So if you've seen that level of darkness, and you've seen that, man, when you cried out, when there was nothing else that could save you, in the depth of your addiction, when you were overdosing, when the stuff had gotten so bad and the darkness had gotten so thick, and you're just saying, God, deliver me from this. And you know that there is no family member, there is the love, and there's no child's love, there is no amount of money, there is no amount of opportunity, there is no amount of self-help, whatever that could come in there and pull you out of that you needed intervention from God. And that's what we need now. And we have to remember that in those dark days where God went in and did whatever he did to help get us even into this place, that you need him now just because you've got a shower and you put a little bit of weight back on and you've got some of your cognitive abilities back, that you still desperately need him. Don't throw him out now and go back to your old mindset. If you find yourself in a negative, condescending, cynical mind, like if you're sitting there tonight like, oh God, here we go again. Try again. Oh God, when's it going to be over? I'm ready to go pass. I'm ready to go pass. Like, bro, like you just, you need to dial in and force yourself to be hungry. To realize that whether you have this overwhelming feeling, whether you like me as a speaker, whether you like necessarily like the content or the delivery or whatever it is, that you can still lean in. If I needed some dope, I don't care if it's my favorite dope dealer or the worst dope dealer. I just want the dope, right? I mean, I don't care if it's Leroy or Norman. It doesn't matter to me. Who's got my drug of choice and who's going to, you know what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't care who I'm like, I'm not buying from Norman. I'm like, Norman, get over here, dog. Missed you. Who cares? Right? So, dude, I'm here, whether you like me or not. You wanted a 3-piece suit and some wingtips? No, you got dunks and, whatever this is. Sorry. I wanted a wooden podium that says, this do in remembrance of me. No, you got this one. You got Norman. Whatever. I just wanted the dope. And I want to make sure the dope wasn't cut. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's not a higher power as you understand him. You know what that is? That's cut dope. That's baking soda. All right? Now you can sit in here, and be Mr. Weird, spiritual, blue hair, and make up God as you understand him. Well, good luck with that when it hits the fan. Good luck with that whenever you need a miracle. Good luck, with the Mr. Potato Head God that you made up whenever you're having a massive craving. Good luck. And we don't rewrite the standard because, we're not living by the standard. If there's contradiction in my life, I'm not going to rewrite who God is to fit my contradiction. Does that make sense? He is who he is. He's going to do what he's going to do. He's merciful, but he's also scary. It's a scary thing to fall into the hands of the living God. Does he love you where you're at? Heck yeah, he does. Does he love drug addicts? Heck yeah, he does. Does he love the fentanyl addict that's out there right now? Yeah, he does. Does he want you to stay like that? No, he does not. He's not going to, judge you in that sense. Like he loves you and is committed to your story of redemption, but he's not signing off on the nonsense that we're doing. He's given you this amazing opportunity. He is the one, by whatever means necessary, pulled you out of active addiction and brought you into good landing to give you another chance. Okay? And so then it becomes our job to participate with him and not fight him. I'm not saying that every single thing that comes out of my mouth is from the Lord. I'm not saying that even I agree with every single group facilitator or therapist that I have hired. But what I am telling you is that I do firmly believe that this is God's perfect will for your life, to be here right now, to be able to give you the information and the tools and the power necessary. That is why that we have seen the growth that we have seen, because I believe that He knows that you are here for such a time as this to be able to get the information and the tools necessary to walk out of here and win, even with the imperfections, even with, some of the things that, and that's fine if you don't agree with everything. That's fine if not every group facilitator gets it right. But you still have everything that you need to be able to win here. So I want to talk tonight. We're on time. I'm going to do this real quick. I've been looking at the book of Nehemiah. So Nehemiah was the cupbearer to King Xerxes. So Israel, Nehemiah was a Jew. Israel had been conquered by Babylon. Then Persia, which is really present-day Iran, had come in and had conquered Babylon, and that Israel was a conquered nation. City was in ruins. That's kind of the backstory, the historical backstory of Nehemiah. So Nehemiah hears, he's the cupbearer, he's pretty much an executive next to King Xerxes, and he finds out that Jerusalem is in ruins. The walls have been knocked down, and his people are a reproach, meaning that they are embarrassed, that people are dogging them out and treating them any type of way, and they're being persecuted and all this stuff. And so Nehemiah starts to weep over the fact and is deeply distressed and concerned and sad that his people are in ruins, okay? I'm going to bring some parallels out between Nehemiah, Jerusalem, and addiction, okay? I think that it's safe to say that if you're in this room, that the walls of your life have been broken down and destroyed by addiction, and that you have been a reproach in your communities. And that's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling when you walk up somewhere and you can tell that other people are embarrassed to be around you because of your addiction. Most of y'all understand that. It's not a good feeling that whenever your own children have no respect for you because of your addiction. I know that is deeply painful. And I'm going to tell you that it's not something that I want you to feel shame about, but I do want you to acknowledge the fact that some of y'all have burned relationships with parents and families, brothers and sisters, and jobs, communities, and that your life, and that you had become a reproach. And you should weep over that. That should cause I want to be careful because I don't want it to create shame, but you need to be hit with the reality of that. That I don't want you to show up here and because of this mentality that we've embraced that kept us alive in addiction, right? Everything was funny. Nothing was held sacred. I mean, a lot of us became very ruthless out there because of the way that we operated, the things that we saw, and the things that we had to go and do to get high. And so there are parts of our personality that we get out of the way, and we try to kill those things and bring out this monster, if you will, so that we can go around and steal and take and sell dope and whatever else that we did to be able to fuel our addiction. And so now we get in here and you start to sober up, and if you're not careful, you'll just write it off like, oh, it ain't no big deal. No, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal that you're in here. This is not, while it is God's perfect will for the solution for you to get out of addiction, you to be a drug addict, that's not God's plan. I want you to understand that. God can use that, and He's so amazing at authoring stories that He can almost make it look like that the addiction and the bad things that happened were part of the story, but that's actually not the way that it was supposed to be. You are not supposed to ruin your family. You are not supposed to become a lying manipulator that nobody trusted. You weren't supposed to be living in a tent out in the woods. You weren't supposed to be paranoid and running from police that weren't there. Okay, and so understand, as Nehemiah weeps over Jerusalem, there should be a moment where the weight of that hits and that you weep over your life. You should weep over the fact that you don't have a relationship with your children in the way that you should, or that you hadn't been the mom, or that you hadn't been the dad, right? Again, not trying to beat you up, but that's part of the process that's going to drive change for you to accurately see it the way that it is. Instead of just coming in here and being like, whatever. I'm just back at rehab, going to do my time, going da-da-da-da-da. No. I mean, I would wish that at least one night that you were gripped with the pain of how in the world did I end up like this? How did this happen? Why am I in rehab? Why am I a grown man that should be putting up six figures, that should be out having a great job and building a life, and I'm in rehab? That should eat you alive. And then I want it to drive change. And then I want you to get up and wipe the tears off your face over the mourning at the life that you should have had that is no longer, and then embrace what God has for you. Because it will be good. It will be good. And that we move forward. And what Nehemiah did next is that he went to King Xerxes. And he went to him and he said that I've never been sad before. Back then, you show up and you have a bad day. If my employees, walk in and they're having a bad day, I'm not going to kill them. I might be like, hey, what's up, doc? You okay? But I'm not, Xerxes was like, hey, there's a good chance. Nehemiah shows up to work and he's got this funk on him. And Xerxes is like, dude, I didn't want you around me. I'll kill you. But Xerxes looks at him and says, hey, what's wrong with you, man? Why's your county? He said, man, my city's in ruins. Well, what do you want? I want to go back and rebuild the walls. He says, yeah, you can go back. He said, give me some letters so that I can move through there and people aren't going to give me trouble. He writes him some letters and he leaves and he goes back. And he's going back to do a noble thing. It was law coming from the king. He had a word. He had an order. He had a permission from God. I want you to know that you have permission from God to rebuild your life. But just because you have permission doesn't mean that there's not going to be enemies that are going to try to stop what you're doing. And that's what happens. And he goes back. And there's this guy named Tobias and this guy named Sanballat that did not want the walls rebuilt. There's people out there that don't want you to win. Okay? And right now, you're probably not going to see it. You may not. The first time you post a Bible verse on Instagram and you got 10 days clean, nobody cares. They're like, that's like the kitten picture. You know what I'm saying? Like that's sweet. And then you're going to get 6 months clean. And then people are like, you judging me. Oh, you think you're better? Like, no, Leroy, I don't think I'm better than you. I'm just excited about what God is doing in my life, and I don't want to smoke crack anymore, and so therefore we don't hang out anymore. Norman, right? I don't think I'm better than you, Norman. I just got to put a little distance in here because you always have a bag of Fent. Stay away. And they're going to be like, you think you old hallelujah boy now? Look at you. He over there Sunday. They'll start saying all the stuff, right? And you'll get all that. And that's good. Because it says you should rejoice when there's enough evidence that you're a Christian and that other people see it. You should rejoice in that. That's good. That's a good thing, man. I remember the first time somebody looked at me like, you think you I was like, dang, man, finally, you know what I'm saying? Dude, we're bad people. Nobody's ever accused me of being a Christian, and you're just like, sweet. Somebody, it'll bother you a little bit, and you're like, yeah, that's blessed are the persecuted. And the more that you believe it, then you'll start to get successful, right? People get on me all the time like, look at you. I'm like, hey, bro, if you stop buying 8 balls, you have money for shoes, okay? This is the way it works. You'll find it's unreal. You stop buying dope, there's money for shoes. It's crazy. I don't do dope anymore. I have money for shoes. It's wild how that works. And so and then you'll start to pass some people. And then they'll start lashing out like indirectly on social media, like, I ain't never done drugs anymore. You say to this guy, and I can't get a break, and this guy over here is, they're frustrated. I don't know. But just be aware of that. And people are typically okay as long as you just get to where they're at. And that's why you're gonna have to change friends at different times. Does that make sense? Because as you start to go up, and it's not like that you're on this selfish agenda of like, oh man, I'm at 50,000, so now I'm gonna fire my $50,000 a year friends, and now I want my $75,000 a year friends. Like, it's not like that. It's just that you'll just get hungry to go further. And you'll just realize, like, man, I know that there's more for me. And I want that. I want to touch that, and I can tell, or God will call you to do something. God will say, hey, step out and go start the sober living, or start the center, or go for the promotion, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it might be. And then those people will be like, they'll get frustrated. They'll be like, you're not going to do that, or whatever. And you'll find out that sometimes it'll be the church people. It'll be the stinking, you know what I'm saying, your best friend of 10 years that all of a sudden starts to dump on your dreams. And then you'll realize, man, I'm going to go on this one alone for a little bit until God brings the next group of people to you. Does that make sense? And that's just how the thing will typically work as you grow. And what we want to do is, and that's just part of the process sometimes, and you'll see that, right? So Nehemiah goes. Tobias and Sanballat, they're enemies. They're making fun of him. That's what you'll see a lot too. They'll start to ridicule you. Like, oh, look, it's the local dope fiend now. They're chairing the meeting. It's the local dope fiend over there, at the church giving their testimony. Pastor now, Billy Graham, and they'll say all this stuff. Dude, let them talk. That's good. That's good. That's a good thing when you start to hear that. And you will hear it. But don't let it, because, we have hearts for those people, right? Dude, I love my friends that are still getting high. I love them to death. People are like, you didn't have any friends. And I know what they're trying to say. Dude, I love those people. I had the best friends out there. We didn't know what we were doing, but it's your birthday. Here's some dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I know that wasn't like the friend thing to do or whatever, but that's, dude, I love those people. And I get what they're trying to you know what I'm saying? This is what all the group facilitators are going to say to you. Like, you didn't have no friends out there. You think you did, but how many of them brought you cigarettes when you're in, whatever. But I'm like, dude, yeah, I know. But I love them. You know what I'm saying? And they're my friends, but they're really not. But you know what I'm talking about. There's like a special place in your heart for those people. And we love that life. Dude, I don't know why I like running around in dope trailers and running from the police, but I did. I don't know why. It was kind of cool in its weird way. I don't know. We had like our little community of knuckleheads, or whatever. But the deal is I have to realize that I don't go back there. I don't care what they say about me and how much that I miss those childhood friendships and how much that I miss some of those times before it got crazy. Before the meth really hit the scene, we actually had a good time. With the little party drugs or whatever before it got crazy. Everybody started snitching on everybody, and all that. But it was whatever, right? And so you just be careful not to let your heart, a lot of you in here, you feel deeply, and you felt so intensely at times, and that's why you use the dope to medicate that. You're like, dude, I love hard. And I remember, we had a lady in here that worked here. Stacy mentioned her on the Monday Night Live. Her name was Sherry Anderson. She's actually on staff at the House of Prayer. And I'll never forget, this guy was a friend of mine. He's a criminal defense attorney. He called me. He's like, got somebody for you. He's like, but I don't know. He's like, I just want you to know, she tried to set a cop car on fire. He's like, are you sure you want her? I was like, yeah, dude, we want her. And so she comes. She'd been in prison or whatever. This girl had been the homecoming queen, over in Roswell or Alpharetta. Her parents were entrepreneurs. She was a microbiologist, had graduated from Georgia State, homecoming queen, all the stuff, and then marries a guy, and he cheats on her. And it just destroys her. destroys her. And so she turns to alcohol, which turned to meth, which turned to a heroin addiction. It turned to trying to, literally got all paranoid and went over to the police station and tried to set a police car on fire. I mean, just wild. I mean, it's part of the deal. I mean, you guys know all the stories, and just, she was crushed in spirit. A lot of us in here, I mean, we've hardened up because of addiction, but a lot of you feel so deeply. Don't let those amazing, like that huge heart that you have, get you to make an alliance that is going to hurt you. Does that make sense? Or to drive you back out of care into a trap, right? Like, I love those people. I'm thinking of guys right now that are still out there in the mix. I love those guys. I would love to go and help them, but I don't go to their house to help them. Not even with 12 years clean. So why are you going to do it with 30 days clean? You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't helping nobody. You going to get high. I mean, if I'm up here, it is going to be way easier for you to pull me off of this than for me to pull you up here if we get in tug of war. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're up here, you're very fragile in this new way of life. They're talking, they're this and that. You care about them. I want to help them. I love that dude. And then you'll go over there and, you're doing dope or drinking with them. And you didn't help anybody. And now both you knuckleheads need to be back in here, right? Okay, so he goes, he builds the wall. They're trying to get him down. And then there's the famous saying that Nehemiah says, I'm doing a great work. I cannot come down. And that's where you need to be right now. You're doing a great work. You're rebuilding the walls of your life, and you cannot be distracted. Okay? I'm up here teaching right now, right? This is a treatment center. I promise you. This staff right now, business development calls have come in. People are trying to get into the program. There may be an overdose. There's no telling what in the world is going on outside the building right now. I can get 50 texts right now and being like, Trey, we need you. We need you. Here's a, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, man, I'm doing a great work. I'm not answering my phone right now. I will not come down. All that other stuff can be going on. There's somebody over there to handle that. Look, you'll be sitting here right now, and there's bills, and the kids need this, and so-and-so needs this, and you need to do this. It's like, look. I'm doing a great work. I cannot come down. That needs to be your mindset right now. This is a great work. You're doing a great work for your families right now. People might not even understand that. Your kids might not even understand that. But what you're doing right now, if you're doing the real work, you're doing a great work right now. You're doing the only thing that matters. This is an important foundational piece. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen a home being built. We see the finished product of a custom home or, whatever it might be. But you go in there and you're building a, 8,000 square foot house. They're going to put 70 to 100 grand worth of concrete in the ground as they dig the foundation. Nobody's coming to see that, but it's actually amazing. I mean, it's like you ever pull up on a foundation of a new house, you're like, dude, especially if you're not a home builder and you hadn't seen that. I mean, you're like, dude, what in the world? It's amazing what goes into it. And arguably the most important part that nobody ever sees. Dirt's going to go back over it. Flooring's going to go back over it. Nobody's even going to know that it's there, but it's the most important part. You can't have a faulty foundation. I mean, you want to talk about a nightmare, you find out a house that's got a faulty foundation. The Freedom One Tower, the largest building in the Western Hemisphere. I've been to it. It was the replacement for the Twin Towers. You go up and you can see all of New York. It's amazing. The foundation is 300 feet deep. Nobody ever went to go see the 300-foot foundation that's on that New York bedrock. But without that foundation going down 300 feet, there's no way that building stands against the elements. It would fall down. So what you're doing right now is the foundational piece. This is not the most photo-worthy chapter of your life, but I am telling you it is the most important. Because I promise you, everything that you hope to be and that you hope to get is all swinging. It is all contingent on what you're doing right now. everything hinges on this right here. You don't get this part right, then everything else falls down. You might be able to play the game for a little bit. You might have the, 2.5 kids and a, 3-2 house over at an HOA. And somehow you fumble along, but if you're skipping steps in this right now and you're not getting that foundation, you wait until the first sign of adversity hits. Something doesn't go your way, and then all of a sudden, boom, the whole thing blows up. You don't want that to happen, because great is that fall. Great is that fall. You don't want to keep getting momentum in your life and getting a little bit, and then all of a sudden, you start to there gets a stronghold in your mind of, man, I'm a failure. I can never get over 6 months clean. Yes, you can, dude. Yes, you can. It's not rocket science. It's just run the stinking play. The foundational plays. I mean, all this is like lofty spiritual analogy. Foundations and da-da-da. Then you're like, Trey, wait, what are we talking about? Dude, I'm talking about getting up every single morning and saying a prayer. You know what I'm talking about? I ain't talking about $100,000 worth of concrete. I'm talking about $100,000 worth of treatment. You know what I'm saying? I am talking, I did say that. But what I am talking about is this is all to get everything right on a daily basis. Get a relationship with God. The same God that's going to take you on to day 10 is the same God that's going to take you into month 7. You think he's going to drop you in your head then? I promise you, you forget him at month 7 or month 3 or year 12. You'll fall on your stinking face. But you got to get these things right, and you got to run the play. That's the foundation. That's the 300-foot hole that allows your life to become as large as God is going to allow it to be. Now, whether you become the largest life in the Western Hemisphere or whether you become whatever you're supposed to be, that foundation is the most important part. And when you build that foundation and you learn those plays, the fundamentals, that you run them day in and day out. When we're asking y'all to get up in the morning to have a quiet time, like, what do you think that's like filler for the rehab? You think I'm like, God, what am I going to do to make sure they don't get bored between 7 and 8 a.m.? I know, let's have a little kumbaya circle. No, dude, this is what I'm doing at year 12 that still keeps me stinking clean and keeps me from going out and doing dope. It's not filler. This is the formula. This is the secret sauce, if you will. Meat and potatoes. Whatever you want to call it. So Nehemiah goes, and this is what's so fascinating to me, and this is what I really want our team to hear tonight, is he went out and he did it in 52 days. He rebuilt the wall in 52 days, and they were being attacked. They literally were laying bricks with one hand and had a weapon in the other hand. And they were able to accomplish this in 52 days. And so I was just looking at this, and so they planned before they started. You need to plan. You need to think about your life. You need to think about, hey, what are the deficiencies? What am I missing? I mean, some of y'all have been to treatment 2, 3, 4, 5 times or more, like me. And you need to think about, man, what am I missing? What part have I not done right? And if you don't know what part, sit down with somebody that's got it right. Good Lord, look at these people out here. I mean, there's Normans and Leroys all around this place. Whoever you like, pick your flavor. You don't like Jeff? You know what I'm saying? Go over here to Jimmy. I mean, whatever. Find somebody and sit down with them. And ask them, hey man, here's where I'm at. I mean, that's what I'd do if I was playing any other sport. I mean, I keep getting knocked out in round 3 if I'm a fighter, and I keep getting knocked out in round 3 of all my fights. I mean, somebody's going to look at that and be like, dude, you get tired in round 3 and you drop your left hand and they catch you with the right and you drop every time. Like, get your butt in shape. Do you see what I'm saying? You're in a fight and it's not that complex. Some of y'all had great trauma. You need to deal with that trauma. You need to talk about that trauma. Next time you go in there and talk to your therapist, you don't need to talk about the transportation issue and how you had to wait 10 extra minutes at your apartment and how that pisses you off. You need to talk about the thing that happened to you when you were 7. And as painful as that is, that you're going to get relief there by talking about it and letting a licensed counselor, a master's level therapist, to help walk you through that process. Like, stop screwing around with this thing, dude. They're not going to tell anybody. They can't even tell me. If I went in there right now and was like, hey, I'm going to fire you if you don't tell me, they can't tell me. They can't even tell me. And I sign their paychecks. They're not going to talk about your stuff. They can't. Lean on them. Use them. Make sure that you build this foundation right this time. Get well. Okay? They build the wall in 56 days. They had leadership. Okay? A lot of us right now have the potential to be great leaders. You're probably not a great leader yet, and so get under great leadership. When you go back home, find good leaders to get underneath. That's a safe place. Cool is great. That's not a great leadership quality. Find somebody that's doing the thing for real and winning at life, and get underneath that. Not the moron with the blue hair that shared something cool in a meeting. Like, Jesus. Be wise on who you pick. Like, if I'm talking to somebody that's getting ready to start a company, I will end with this, right? I used to do this for a living. I would help people that were starting 501c3s, nonprofits, and you have to choose a board of directors. So for IRS compliance, if you're going to start a 501c3, to be in compliance, you have to have 3 people on your board, and they all have to be unrelated and uncompensated. So if you want to go start a nonprofit, a church, a community development organization, or something like that, 3 people, and the majority have to be unrelated, uncompensated. And so what I would tell people all the time is make sure as you choose your board of directors, be wise, because it's easy to get somebody to be on your team, but once you get that person on and you realize, oh man, I've made a mistake, it is much harder to then terminate the person than it was, right? When you hear people in organizations all the time, hire slow, fire fast. Hire slow, fire fast, right? As you think about your life and you think about who's going to be a part of your team, your board of directors, if you will, choose wisely who that's going to be. Not because, you see what I'm saying? I mean, without me just beating a dead horse, think about that. You have to choose a team that's going to be with you, that's going to help walk this thing out, that you're going to trust to be able to call, that you're going to talk to. Choose wisely on who that team is going to be. You want to make sure that you're unified. You want to make sure that you believe in the same God. That's going to get weird if you don't. You want to make sure that there's, and that's another reason, they were united. Yes, thank you, BJ. That they were united over a purpose. Probably not wise that you find somebody that's really cool that, drinks 7 beers every Friday night. Probably not the ideal part to be on your board of directors. Choose wisely who that team is going to be. So they finished the wall, rebuilt the wall in record time. Unity, leadership, planning. Planning, unity, good leadership. Okay? You want to make sure when people are united, there's almost nothing that we can't accomplish. So much more to say, to spin off on that. But if you get those principles right, you're going to build a good team, you're going to rebuild the walls of your life, and you're going to be strong and you're fortified, and you're going to do great things. This altar is open. I hope God has impacted your life tonight greatly. If you want to come up here tonight and pray for strength, pray for wisdom. It said that if any man lacks wisdom, to ask God, and He'll give it to you liberally. There's a place for wisdom up here. There's a place for power up here. There's room to come and ask God for salvation. If you need to give your life to Jesus for the very first time, if you need to rededicate your life. It's exciting to me right now. I'm not going to call him out, but I got a local dope dealer that I know that's walking up here right now, and it fires me up. And I see light in his eyes, and I've been working with him for a long time. And it's exciting to me, man, to see this stuff. You understand that, dude? I was one of the worst human beings that has ever set foot out of Clarksdale, Mississippi. There are people right now that probably believe that this whole drug rehab thing is a front for me to sell dope or something. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what they think. Dude, I'm fired up. I'm up here tonight, a knucklehead. I got no master's in divinity. I ain't no pastor. I got no degrees. I got nothing that should qualify me to be up here tonight. But I got up here and ran my country mouth and believed God, and the local dope dealer just walked up here to get his life right with God. I don't care what you say about that. Dude, that's the kind of stuff that he wants to do, and nothing pays like that. Nothing pays like that. That's what's up. And that's what he wants to do in all of our lives. Great and mighty things, to be a part of that, man. So buy into that, man. Lock into that. Father, we love you. God, I thank you, Lord, so much for tonight. I thank you for your mercy. I thank you for your grace. I thank you for these people, God. God, I thank you for an altar that we're able to come to in our time of need. God, I thank you that you're going to do an amazing work. And we love you, and we trust you, and we commit it all to you in Jesus' mighty name, Lord. We love you. Amen. All right, we'll run it back next week. Love y'all. Awesome. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Trey, for sharing with that. Give Trey a round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Powerful word today. Season of